You know that feeling, right? You decide to change a habit or a belief or just your general outlook on things, and it feels like you're in this all-out war with your own brain. It's so frustrating. Well, today we're diving into the surprising science of why that struggle is so incredibly real. And I'll give you a spoiler right now, it has almost nothing to do with your willpower.
I mean, it can feel just like this, can it? Like your own thoughts are literally chained down. We decide, okay, I'm going to be more positive, or I'm finally going to learn that new skill, but we just keep snapping right back to the old way of thinking. So what on earth is actually going on in there?
Okay, now this. This is where it gets really interesting. What if that resistance you feel, that pullback to the old ways, what if it isn't a flaw? What if it's a feature? This one idea flips the entire problem on its head. Your brain isn't fighting you. It's actually trying to protect you, based on a design that's been perfected over millions of years. Let's really unpack that.
We always think that changing our minds is just a matter of gritting our teeth and trying harder. But the real challenge isn't a moral one, it's a biological one. We're about to see how our thoughts aren't just these abstract things. They physically shape the very structure of our brain.
All right, let's get into the first big reason this is so hard, the actual hardware of your brain. Every single thought you have isn't just some puff of smoke. It is literally carving a physical path inside your head. Scientists call these things neural pathways. And honestly, the best way to think of them is like super highways in your mind. The more you travel down a certain mental road by repeating a thought or an action, the wider and smoother that road becomes.
And to really wrap your head around this, our source gives us this brilliant metaphor. Just picture your mind as a muddy field, and every new thought you have is like a mountain bike getting ready for its first ride.
So the very first time you have a new thought, that bike tire carves this tiny, shallow little track in the mud. It's barely even there. But every single time you repeat that thought, that groove gets deeper and deeper and deeper. And then your brain does something amazing. It coats that pathway with a fatty substance called myelin, which basically insulates the connection, making the signal travel way faster and more efficiently. It's like paving that muddy groove and turning it into a slick, high-speed highway. So now, trying to think a different thought, that's like trying to yank your bike out of that deep, comfortable paved groove. It just naturally wants to slip right back in.
So that brings us to the really crucial question. Why does the brain love these highways so much? Well, it turns out that forcing your bike out of that comfortable groove isn't just difficult, it's also incredibly expensive from an energy point of view.
So let me just ask you this. What percentage of your body's total daily energy do you think your brain burns through just existing?
The answer is pretty mind-blowing, actually. Take a look at this. Your brain is only about 2% of your body's total weight. 2%, but it devours a whopping 20% of your body's energy. It is an absolute energy hog.
And here's why that matters so much. To conserve that precious fuel, your brain's main strategy is to put as much as possible on autopilot. It wants to run on the subconscious energy-cheap superhighways it's already built. Forcing a change means your prefrontal cortex, the thinking, planning part of your brain, has to do all this heavy, exhausting, metabolically expensive work. Your brain would literally rather be efficiently unhappy than exhaustingly happy.
And this whole energy-saving strategy, well, it serves an even deeper, more fundamental purpose. It all comes down to your brain's prime directive. And let me tell you, it has nothing to do with making you happy.
This, right here, is the absolute core of it all. From an evolutionary standpoint, the brain has one job above all others: survival. And for survival, one thing matters more than anything else: predictability. What's known is safe. What's unknown could be a tiger in the bushes.
And this illustrates that primal logic perfectly. Your brain will almost always choose a familiar negative mindset over an unfamiliar potentially positive one. Why? Because it knows the negative state. It has a survival plan for it. It knows the terrain. That new positive state, that's new territory, full of unknown variables. And in the brain's rulebook, safety always trumps happiness.
You've probably felt this before. This internal conflict even has a name: cognitive dissonance. It's that jarring, uncomfortable, kind of cringy feeling you get when a new idea challenges one of your core beliefs. Your brain, especially your ego, doesn't see that as an opportunity for growth. It sees it as a direct threat to your identity, and it sounds a primal fight-or-flight alarm to protect you from the new information.
Okay, so let's put it all together. Our thoughts create physical roads in our brain to save energy, all in the service of a deep, primal need to survive by sticking with what's predictable. So let's see how this plays out with a classic real-world example: the fixed mindset versus the growth mindset. Let's just walk through this, because it perfectly shows those three big principles in action. For someone who has a really deep, well-paved, fixed mindset superhighway, look at that first row, how they view failure. Failure isn't just something that happened, it's who they are. I am a failure. Trying to challenge that feels like a threat to the self, right? That's the survival instinct kicking in. Now look at effort. To them, needing to try hard is a sign you're not good enough, because the brain is just trying to conserve energy by sticking to what it already knows. And feedback? Bam. That immediately triggers that cognitive dissonance alarm we were just talking about. So trying to switch to a growth mindset isn't just a simple choice. It requires fighting all three of these powerful biological forces at the exact same time.
So after hearing all that, it might feel a little hopeless. But it's actually the exact opposite. Because understanding the mechanism is the first step to finally working with your brain instead of constantly fighting against it. It gives us a brand new, much more accurate job description for anyone who's trying to make a change. This is it. This is the single most important takeaway from all of this. Forget the idea of just flipping a switch. You're not a light operator. You are a construction worker. You're an architect. Your job is to physically remodel the hardware of your mind one conscious thought at a time.
So let's just reframe this whole thing. First off, your brain isn't broken, so you're not fixing anything. Your real job is to build a brand new, competing superhighway right next to the old one. And that takes conscious energy to carve that first path. And then it takes patient repetition to pave it with that crucial mile in. You're not just thinking a new thought, you are literally rerouting a river.
Look, this process is hard because it's supposed to be hard. It's real, physical work. But knowing that fact changes everything. It replaces that frustration you feel with patience, and it replaces self-criticism with a clear strategy. So the final question is, now that you know you're the architect of your own mind, what new structure are you going to start building today?